Welcome to Bankruptcy, Through the Looking Glass, with Barry Levine.
Thank you for joining us on Bankruptcy Through the Looking Glass with Barry Levine. I'm your host, Evan Mack, and today we're exploring how bankruptcy intersects with something much bigger than money. The American dream. Is financial failure the end of the road or the start of something new? This is Bankruptcy and the American Dream, Redefining Success. Barry Levine, sir, welcome back.
Excuse me while I laugh. The American
come on,
dream.
wait a minute. Now come on now, white picket fence, American apple pie. Like
this is the American dream. You're looking at
it. There is a strong cultural tie between financial success and self-worth in America. That's been since even when I was a kid, my parents were kids. But how does that show up when it comes to your bankruptcy practice?
It's funny. Most of the people are, you don't really find, at least I haven't, a lot of very upper class, if you will, people filing bankruptcy. It's been done over the years. But most of the people are, people who dress like myself, in a t-shirt and dungarees, nothing fancy, and they, I think a lot of them look at it as part of life. Mm-hmm. I don't have a lot of people who, summer in the Hamptons, and
right.
Like my wife always says, they all wear black. The men and the women wear black. Where my brother-in-law lives, they all wear black. They all look alike too, but I won't mention the town on the North Shore of Long Island.
But do you think bankruptcy challenges that whole American dream concept, or do you think it reinforces maybe
something? I don't think it has anything to do with it.
Okay.
I think a lot of the American dream is all these people who are born into it.
Yeah.
Like what is it that the phrase they think they hit a home run, but they were really born on third base, and their father hit the home run.
Yeah.
I mean, they're. Granted, I've had people lose houses. It's not easy. But as I've learned over the decades, a house is just a house. I don't, we sold it. We had a house for 23 years. We sold it. Okay, live in an apartment. Grew up in a house in Brooklyn. I left it. I didn't think twice about it. I don't regret it. I don't feel bad about it. And, it's just a thing. I mean, people who are tied into this stuff, who it means something to, well, they need more help than I can give them.
But because Barry, you know what it is though, because you're always, these people are conditioned that it's a status. If you don't have a car, if you don't have a home, then you really haven't made it. That they attribute that to success. You know what I mean? That's how it's.
But you know what it is. But you know what it is. Most of them. I remember a long time ago, one of the secretary once said to me, Barry, why do all your clients who are going bankrupt drive fancy cars?
Ooh.
And nowadays it's the same thing. They don't suffer from anything like that. Mm-hmm. They usually, I still wonder, there's a guy who bums change on Linway, and he smokes cigarettes, and he has a cell phone, and he has bottled water. So where does he get all the money from? If he's bumming change out there. A pack of cigarettes costs what, $12 today? Yeah. Cell phone isn't cheap, and the water isn't cheap. And the thing is, if status means something to you, yeah, if the client loses the house, it's not easy. But, I find it's more the situation where the husband and wife, the husband's in business, and the business has been sucking wind for a long time. And now the house is at risk, or, the house has always been at risk, but now there's a second mortgage on the house that's not being paid, and they're going to foreclose. Mm. And again, how does it look to the wife to have to face her neighbors? Her house is under foreclosure.
Exactly.
Which is why they look to avoid the notice dates. Because once the notice goes out, everybody in the world starts to drive by. Mm-hmm. They figure they're going to get a deal, they're going to get this, and they don't know when you buy a house at foreclosure. For all you know, it could be stripped to the studs.
Yeah.
the fixtures could be taken out. It's been known to happen.
What do you say to clients that feel like they failed, for even filing for bankruptcy?
I tell them it's not the end of the world.
Yeah.
Because, the thing I tell them is, again, if they have real estate mortgages that they're going to continue to pay, or a car loan that they're going to continue to pay, that stands in their favor, and they'll find that they'll get new credit. It really isn't the end of the world. There's nothing that is going to preclude. The only thing a bankruptcy is going to preclude them from doing is if a bank has an A rate, they're not going to get it.
Can bankruptcy actually go ahead? Say that again.
Otherwise, life will go on.
Yeah.
That's why they say that a lot.
But listen, but it's a good thing. It's a good mantra, though, and it's a good to think about that, because people do think these things are the end of the world, though, Barry.
It's nice to have all these credit cards and stuff. And yeah, if you like to go to Disney and you have little kids, you have to be able to take them to Disney and to rent a car. You're not going to take $2,000 in 20s to give a deposit. You need a credit card, but they'll get them. You know what I mean? It's not something that, usually within a year, clients are getting new credit cards and things like that. So again, if it's a question of how they're going to look, most cases, if they belong to the country club, they'll probably still belong to the country club.
Mm-hmm.
It's not, as you can see, it's not something. My wife, if she watches this, she's probably cursing. It's not something that I've ever cared about.
But listen, can just break down to me. Give me like one of the best things about bankruptcy, though, in your opinion. Is it starting fresh? Is it a catalyst for growth? What's the
It's really it's truly starting fresh. I mean, especially if you're, in your 20s, 30s, or 40s, it's really a fresh start, and you'll find that, like I said, it isn't the end of the world. On the other hand, if you're not working and making no money, what's going to change?
Right.
But if you have a job, and you'll find that they consider you, creditors consider you a good credit risk. And unfortunately, you do need to have a credit card to exist. And I know when I still pay cash. I'm old fashioned, and when they come over with that little computer contraption,
The little tap.
To take the check, it's like, what the hell is this? Give me an old fashioned check. I'll pay it this way. Then they have to find change. It's a whole other story.
Yeah.
It's like we used to say, when you have you ever been to Italy?
I haven't had the pleasure. I've been to France.
Well, I don't know. I don't know if they do it in Italy when you go to a restaurant. Now, my brother happens to live in Italy. That's why I asked about Aviano.
Where's he? What part of Italy? Where's he at? Is he in the city?
He lives in the next town over from Aviano.
Wow.
He's a veterinarian.
Wow.
And when you go to a restaurant in Italy, they have to have a conference when they give you the check. The check can take at least 15, 20 minutes to get. You ask for the check, the chef comes out, the waiters all come together, and they speak and talk, and they finally give you the check.
But what about, let's speak on different generations, boomers, Gen X, millennials, the lot, how do they approach bankruptcy differently in your experience?
The only thing, they more often have the feeling that somehow they have failed. But I say to them, you're young. What have you failed at? You're 28. You'll do something else. You're old enough. I mean, it's not the end of the world.
What about older? What about an older person, though? What about an older person?
Older person, the reality of an older person is, if you're in your 60s or older, how much credit do you really need? Looking to expand your horizons or anything like that. You're living off whatever your pension is, or doing whatever your pension is, and you'll get credit cards too.
But are there systematic or policy changes that you think are coming across the pipe or down the pipe that could reshape the narrative around bankruptcy?
No, around bankruptcies, no. I think it's gonna stay the same. I mean, it's the same old, where people don't seem to know what the process is. They have to become educated, like, I keep saying, and then realize that it's not the end of the world. I mean, and again, you have to look at bankruptcy as fitting into the fitting into the categories, the exemptions you have. then you have no problems. I mean, the only thing is if you're a high earner, you may have to file a Chapter 13 as opposed to a Chapter 7 and pay your creditors something. But even that, most people, you'd be surprised at how quickly 5 years go. And you can set up the payments so that once you determine what your planned payment is, the payments are made automatically right out of your bank account. That they let you still do. And, like I said, life goes on.
In your experience, throughout your career, how can people redefine success after this, supposed, financial failure?
Well, I've had a number of situations where I've liquidated businesses and then the people have gotten right up, started another business, and they're doing successfully today. I had one case where we liquidated the business, and I think it had no value. And 10 years later, the principal sold it for over $1 million. Wow. Of course, they stiffed me on my fee, but that's a different story. Mm-hmm. But it really, to define it, it's most of them are still standing. I mean, it doesn't really affect you. Like I said, it's not, God forbid, your health issues, which you can always be reminded of. They don't go away.
Mm.
The
and finally, sir, do you consider what you do for people, do you consider it a mitzvah, sir?
Yes, I do. I think I actually do. I consider doing a mitzvah. You're absolutely right. That's a good deed for those of you who don't know. Because, I should say God's work. Because, listen, you get people, when they have incredible debt and all they're making is the minimum payments, the one thing I tell them and get across to them, you're a freaking indentured servant. You're working for your creditors.
Right.
I mean, there's no money. I mean, you're putting food on the table. Maybe you're paying the mortgage, but otherwise, what else is there? You're paying your creditors.
Right.
And you don't want to be an indentured servant. It's, it was outlawed a long time ago.
Indeed. Barry Levine, sir, enlightening as always. Appreciate your time.
Zygazoo to everybody. I think I got the right hand. I don't know.
Thank you all once again for tuning in to Bankruptcy Through the Looking Glass with Barry Levine. To connect with Barry, head to levineslaw.com. Like, subscribe, and leave a review if you found this information helpful.
Thank you for joining us on this enlightening journey through bankruptcy. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more content like this.